What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One Set. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Jim Green here, along with my best friend and co-host, Anthony Irvin. We're here with the One Set podcast yet again. We're almost 3 years into this. We're past the 2.5 year mark. It's just insane to think we've been doing this for this long, right?
I was literally thinking of it today, just thinking, and it's funny you just brought that up. I was going to tell you off air, but it's fine to even say it on the air. Scrolling through my Facebook, I just saw that YMH just passed 2 million subscribers on YouTube, and they've been going for 14 years. So, I mean, we've only been at this for just about 3.
2.5.
And, we're very, very small compared to that. But, we've had a very big, spike of subscribers here in the last couple months, and we thank you all for it. But, it just goes to show that this whole thing is just a slow rolling, journey. And, it's surprising that we never really run out of things to talk about, or the fact that we've had some times where we're like, let's just kind of press record and see what happens. And then we just get impressed with what we talk about. But then we always come back to like, okay, just back to the basics of just, talking about either life or wrestling, everyday things, sports, music, dance. But the fact is that, just even 2.5 years in this, I still feel just as, motivated about it as when we first press record,
Yeah, I think as long as the world keeps spinning,
yeah,
we're not going to run out of stuff to talk about. As long as sports are sports, as long as wrestling is what it is, as long as our love for music and dance, and just these shared common interests that you and I share.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we share them if they're shared.
Okay, cut.
Cut. Step the bus. Yeah.
Step the bus.
No, but honestly, it's really, I don't even know what the feeling is. Just still doing this. Not that I approached you and said, hey, let's start a podcast thinking it would end early.
Mm-hmm.
But it almost feels new to me every week. So obviously I'm a little bit more comfortable on the mic, because we have done 130 plus episodes at this point. And like you said, YMH, Tom and Christina, they've been doing this for a long time. Bill Burr's been doing it for 17 years or something insane like that. I think he was one of the first people that jumped on the podcast.
It was him and Rogan were the two top people that just turned on. And he was talking about it, I think recently, just saying it was him and Ari Jafir. They just, were doing podcasting in the green rooms of different comedy places, and even people were like, what are you guys doing? We're just talking and everything, and people just thought they were weird doing it. But cut to 15, 20 years later, they're Rogan and Burr have probably the biggest podcast in the world. So it's just insane how podcasting has become. And there's millions of podcasts out there now. When they were starting, there was literally none. So you didn't really have too many people to compete with. But now there's so many, so you're one little fish in a big pond. But the fact is, we try not to get too fed up with the algorithms and numbers. We just get on here every week, try to make something interesting and talk about something. We throw out content. We try to have fun with it. The number one thing we always try to do is just have fun with it. And I think it's just shown that people have came on to us and, started listening to us. And even with the live that we did, just really proved to us that we have people that we don't even know really just tune in every week. So that was just a big, like, whoa, like, this is not just, it's not like we're just talking to zero people. Like, there are people who watch every week, which is really cool.
Absolutely. And even if the YouTube view counts don't show that, we have friends that told us, like, yeah, no, I can't watch you guys at work, but I listen to you guys on
Absolutely, yeah.
Spotify, on Apple Music, on wherever they get their podcasts, and just listen. We have a lot of numbers just from the audio, which is
all over the spectrum of things. If we don't have one platform that doesn't do good, there's always something that kind of over prevails and stuff. So they're getting it somewhere. So we appreciate anybody and whoever has just given us a chance. Even if you listen for 2 seconds or 2 minutes or 2 hours of something, we really appreciate it,
And honestly, I hung out with a friend of ours that we used to be really close to a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I, not related to him specifically, but had seen someone post, like, after we did our like WrestleMania live stream.
Yeah.
I'd seen someone post, not everybody has to have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't, but everyone can have a podcast, right?
Absolutely.
You need one of these. And if you go back to like episodes 1 through 20 in the archives on our YouTube page, you'll see I don't have one of these. I didn't get one of these until Anthony bought it and sent it to me. He was
you
like,
either have those or your computer little speaker thing.
yeah,
whatever works.
Again, back in the early stages of starting on, I didn't have like the camera that I have now. Again, thanks to Anthony, who he was like, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right. No, I don't have soundproof walls. You might hear a ceiling fan coming in here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going from my basement, so it's all just whatever.
Back to our good friend from way back when, who I caught up with for the first time in a long while, a couple weeks ago. I told him, I was like, hey, Anthony and I used to watch Monday Night Raw together, and it wasn't because we were such diehard wrestling fans. It was just like an excuse to hang out almost. And,
exactly, yeah.
And again, the podcast is, I told him, as much as we love the viewers and we love D1 Set fam that has been along this journey, whether they have been here with us from the beginning or joined in after the fact, recently, not so recent. This is, Anthony and I get to catch up once a week, and yes, we text each other every day, but like, this is our time, and after we stop recording, we might catch up for 5 minutes to hours.
I was gonna say 5 minutes or 5 hours. Yeah.
Last week, I told Anthony, I was like, dude, it's 2 a.m. You need to get to bed. He's like, yeah, man, for sure. By the way, and then you stayed on for another 25 minutes. I was like,
this is us. Yeah.
You have kids and you got to get up and go to work. I don't have kids and I don't have an early alarm clock like that. And I was like, if he wants to keep talking, I'm here for it. Like, I'm fine. It's cool. But Anthony, just quick before we get into the actual episode itself, just want to thank you for signing on with me every week, or even in the weeks where we have to, fill in for each other. And by that, it's either we get a guest or we go solo. This has been really cool. And as much as I'd love to be like right next to you in person, I will take this. And maybe when your kids are grown and we'll get to a point where like, hey, we can get together every so often in person, like that I think is like maybe the ideal goal. and we'll get there. We'll get there.
Definitely.
But also we'll see where my life goes, where you're like, okay, I'm ready to go, and I'm like, I can see you maybe once a month now.
Hold on. Yeah. Time out.
Time out. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, I've been getting this annoying itching feeling under my armpits from the deodorants I've been trying and using, and I can't seem to find something that works for me.
Have you ever tried maybe like a natural deodorant?
Natural deodorant? No. Are you insane?
No, but I am Wild.
Oh,
Wild is the UK's #1 natural deodorant company that focuses on performance, sustainability, and style.
Their mission is to clean up the bathrooms by leaving it free of ugly, single-use plastic bottles and unnecessary chemicals.
You know why Wild is great? Because it actually works and it's eco-friendly and contains over 98.5% natural ingredients.
They have a fully sustainable design with aluminum cases that last for a lifetime, plus biodegradable, recyclable refills. And you know what's cool? They can actually imprint your name on these aluminum cases for a small additional fee.
Wild is super convenient with flexible subscription options or paying as one-off purchases. And you can customize your order by choosing your case, color, and various scent combinations. I know I have the ocean mist, the fresh cotton and sea salt, and the orange and neroli flavors, and they all smell super great. And what's best about them is they don't just wear off immediately, and then all of a sudden you smell like BO.
Yeah, I've been rocking the sandalwood and patchouli scent right now. And again, great scent, lasts like throughout the day, that you're pretty much protected throughout the day. And I also was able to try the mint and aloe vera. Big aloe vera fan, right on point, long lasting, and you can look forward to these cases and scents in a limited edition every month.
Go Wild today with a special discount of 25% off your first order when you get the code OneSetPod at checkout. Go to wearewild.com and use the code OneSetPod at checkout and enjoy.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate base podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layer backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Definitely just being in person, it's always, a different vibe than catching up via virtual. But yeah, that is the goal of us, to eventually try to find a way where we can be more consistent with being in person. So that is one of our end goals to as we continue to progress to this, is to try to do something where we can be in person every week. And that'll eventually happen once the kids are probably slightly a little bit older. And, I think we started this when Anthony was like more around 2. So
Yep.
he was a little less needy than how Grayson is right now.
Sure.
So, and he's definitely progressing in some fields like a lot faster than what Anthony is. Like, I feel in the next couple months he's going to be crawling, because he's like starting to really like push his legs up and everything, and it's crazy to see the comparisons and how much different they were like at certain points in the first year.
and he's 6 months as of like a few days ago. And once
Yeah.
once this actually airs or is published, it'll be like a week, right?
Yeah, a little over a week.
Yeah.
So 6 months in, and it's been, you know, being a dad for a second time is just like I just said, just seeing the similarities and comparisons to, you know, the first time. It's just amazing how, you know, it can be so different but so similar, and you're not as on edge because you kind of have a little bit of a trial run with the first kid, so then you're not like, oh my god, what are we doing? You know, we have a little bit of knowledge this time, but still you don't know much, so because it's different every time.
Well, yeah, because every individual is built different, right?
Yeah,
Like their brains aren't the same, their bodies aren't the same, how they learn isn't the same. Is Grayson like sitting up yet on his own?
he's trying to. We're
Okay.
working on it, and I don't know. He might crawl before he sits up, but there's times where like he'll sit up, but then he'll slowly start like going and like leaning to one side. So like he'll probably get that very soon too. So I think he's going to be like doing, you know, this and that, and then, you know, he's been teething. He had a very bad weekend this weekend with teething and everything, and you know, his it seems like his bottom two teeth are starting to come in because his gums are very sore. So teething. He just had his you know, 6 month appointment today, so he had shots, and you know, now he's able to eat, you know, actual like real food. So you know, we're gonna start, you know, just giving him little bits and stuff here and there. So you know, he's still doing the bottles, so the bottles are still his main source of nutrition, but it's like now you're kind of like how we were talking, I guess, a couple weeks ago in one of our episodes, that like, you know, his nutrition's still coming from the bottles at this point, but the food's going to start like going like this, and the formula will go down, and it'll kind of even out a little bit for the next couple months. So yeah.
You said something about shots. You doing the whiskey on the gum thing for the teething, or
I've thought of that a couple times, but no, not that. But yeah, just a couple vaccine shots and everything.
which is it's crazy because like I heard the stories of like, oh, teething, whiskey on the gum, and I'm like,
yeah, we've heard from everybody like, oh, just throw it on, he'll be fine. Like, I'm not
and
sure if that works anymore. If I'm going to be going to jail for that stuff.
I was like, did my parents actually do this to me when I was baby teething?
I'm pretty sure, especially since we were both born in the 80s, I'm pretty sure that happened more than once.
If I had to guess with your mom and dad, wow, that's a good one. Like who would be the first one to be like, Anthony's crying, whiskey on the gums? I immediately
Where's that JD?
Yeah. I immediately wanted to say your dad was probably like, yeah, man, shut the fuck up. Here we go.
Probably.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm also like, maybe your mom was saying to your dad, like, he won't stop crying. And dad's like, hey, well,
he's a man up. Like,
he literally went,
boy's got to be a man someday.
no better time than to start now, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, at the same time, if I had to guess,
Yeah, the 80s were wild.
The 80s were. I really feel like I feel like we missed like the rave of the 80s and the 90s.
I was gonna say, like, even though we were born in the 80s, I don't think like we really knew what the 80s were. The 90s were our generation like starter, like, because we were born in the 80s, but we were, you know, 3-4 years only in the 80s. So I was 86, so really only got like 3-4 years of the 80s. So, you know, what do you really remember in your 2-3-4-year-old self? I mean, I think from what I can really remember, I can only go back to maybe like 5 years old, and maybe like small snippets prior to that, but like I remember as far back as maybe like 5 years old.
Yeah, it's so weird because I forever, and when I say forever, I mean like by the time I was in middle and high school and onward, I was like, I really don't remember anything before the age of 7, except for
Hmm.
snippets of things.
Yeah.
Like I remember like my first day of kindergarten. I remember my field trip in kindergarten. I remember a couple of other things that happened when I was like 5.
Yeah.
Before 5,
Yeah, it's tough.
really
Unless you have
not
like
so much.
video, like proof of something, like your parents taking videos of you, like, oh, okay, then maybe if that kind of brings back a memory, or you're just like, oh, looking like, I can see that happening.
Yeah, but even seeing a video of myself when I'm really little like that, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that was my physical shape in that era of
Right.
time, but that wasn't me. Like I see that and I'm like,
It's crazy to think that though, right? Like
yeah,
you have
yeah,
no idea, like you have no memory of that, but that was you.
yeah,
Like
but the personalities weren't developed yet. We were literally just like
true.
little kids, and I
Yeah.
think that that's going to be the fun part for you is like as a dad, you're watching little Tone, who's about to be 4, is
Hmm.
like, he's got a personality. He has
Yeah.
preferences. He's got likes and dislikes, and um, but he's still very much. I don't want to say like a toddler, um,
Hmm.
but he's still like preschool age, right? So,
Yeah, getting there. He's getting into that preschool age. Yeah.
and speaking of, I remember like a couple blips of going into preschool, like
Yeah. Yeah.
actually, like just
Now that I think of it,
little
yeah.
things like that, but.
Like going to school and like maybe like I have like now you said like one little snippet of like going into like the preschool class, but I don't really remember anything from it. But I remember one day going to school and one day walking into the class, but I couldn't really tell you like a full day of it, you know?
Right. And I think that that also plays into like the things we remember are stored in our long-term memory because
Yeah.
we rehearse it in our brains, and when
Hmm.
we're 2, 3 and 4 years old, we're not thinking about that stuff all the time because we're too busy being like, what's this? What's that? What's over here? Huh? like oh,
Yeah, when you have like so many things going on every day,
yeah.
like it's crazy to think like how much storage your brain actually can hold. And I mean, you're thinking of your brain like as like literally like a literal external hard drive of like your life and like what it wants to store, what like okay, long term, short term, 5 seconds, then no longer remember anything about it. That was pretty much like any type of school test that I had. Like you'll just remember it for the 5 seconds that you study for and the day of the test. And after you take the test, you have no memory of what you studied after that.
Yeah, and I think that that also depends on like what kind of studier you are, right? Like, do you cram for the test and does it work? For some people, they can cram 1 or 2 days before a test and be like, I aced it, and then they forget about it and they're gone, and their brain is all like they automatically opened up
Yeah.
for whatever's next,
And I've
right?
done it all. Like I've done the cramming, I've done the hey, let me go and like study 2 weeks out. And then within that time, you're kind of like going in like tiers of like a little bit. Then you like raise it up like how much you're studying as you get closer. But like
Which one served you the best?
I would
Because
think uh
you did full blown college, master's degree.
I would
Um,
think the closer I studied to the test, the better my mind was able to retain the most information. Where if I was studying 2 3 weeks out, I would have to go back and look at something to be like, okay, I remember it, but let me go back and reread it. And then so I feel if I was studying a week or a week and a half out, depending on how much that material I needed, then I was able to retain a lot more and be able to be more prepared and more, clear from what I was studying, instead of trying to remember things that I was reading about 3 weeks ago.
and I can speak to that when it comes to um, choreographing a project, right? Um, I am mildly justifying my procrastination here. Okay. just
I'm a procrastinator too, though. But
just
yeah.
full disclaimer. But I've also choreographed projects I've co-choreographed projects with other people where we would meet a week before, create the content, and then we'd be like, okay, we're good for next weekend.
Yeah.
And then it would be next weekend, and I'd be like, I don't know what we did last weekend, and then
Right.
I'd have to go back and refresh it. Whereas I like to choreograph organically, and again, have talked about this. I wouldn't choreograph something. I wouldn't choreograph for a project now for rehearsal in a week from now or 2 weeks from now, um, with the same sense of urgency, which I think is where we're getting to with like the cramming for a test.
Yeah.
It's all you're prioritizing it mentally up here, right? And for me, also, like when I have a rehearsal, more times than not, I am like, I need to do this as close to the rehearsal itself so that it's not just fresh in my mind, but also like my muscle memory is right there. And
Yeah.
like, I know where I'm going. And that way, when I walk into the room, I'm like, okay, I just did this either this morning, last night, or even, and this is a stretch, a couple days ago, and it's still there. But
Yeah.
if it's a week before, I have to tune into it and try to like get it back in my mind and in my body and be like, oh yeah, no, I got this.
For sure.
But
It's almost like the kind of with my new set right now. Like I had to learn a whole brand new, live looping setup, and I'm still learning the kinks and everything. But I feel, I had a show this past Friday night, and I felt that went uh not better than John Morton's, but I felt I didn't screw up as much. I felt I was more confident with, knowing where to place all my stuff, and my setup time was a lot quicker too, because it was the first time actually like placing everything out, and then songs went a little more smoother too.
you were
So
also like 45 minutes from home, right?
yeah, yeah.
So do you have a little less anxiety going into a venue where you're far from home versus when you're like closer to home? And not because you think that like people or local people are coming up, but also
Yeah, I know
you
what
know
you
what I
mean.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that like since like you're like thinking like, oh well, none of these people really know you, so I mean, yeah, I don't really get too anxious because I'm like, if I don't go back to this spot, not like anybody's really gonna be like, hey, don't listen to this dude, or gonna go to another venue like, hey, I'll listen to him 45 minutes out. Don't listen to this guy.
That's why I was asking.
And if
Yeah.
they do, I mean, good riddance on them. They're really wasting their time doing that. But but no, I mean, I think I put just more pressure on myself to be like, even if I know they don't hear the mistake, I hear the mistake. So I'm more harder on myself to be like, ah, crap, I messed up on that. But then when you look up, everybody's kind of just like this or that, or they're just literally just looking at you, and it just was like a blur. They didn't even realize that you messed up. And you're like, okay, cool, keep going. Because there's sometimes where I will just, if I suddenly, because I mean, hey, it's live. Everybody messes up. Even the perfect people mess up. So I'm not prone to being like, I don't like to, show when I mess up. Everybody does. But there's times where, when you do, 9 times out of 10, people don't even realize you did. And there's sometimes where I will show it that I messed up. And then there's times where I will just, if I hit the wrong button, or if I clicked on like a track that I wasn't supposed to click on, I just kind of keep going through it and then just keep going. Or there are times where I'm like, I have to stop and kind of be like, okay, and go. But then, half the time people don't even really worry about it.
And I think that really depends on like a day to day. Where's your mindset in that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can agree and try to appreciate what you're saying, because like the bigger shows that I have mentioned on here about like Tampa, San Antonio,
Yeah.
San Jose, like those bigger venues that I did, I was like, okay, nobody here knows me. But at the same time, like you said before, you never know who's watching you. So you want to be at
Yes.
your best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You just don't want to actually bomb the thing. But like you said, you never know who will walk in there or, what person or anybody. So you still want to play to your best ability. But, you know, if something does tend to happen, if you don't get X back or you're not playing it every week or you're there maybe every month or every other month, you may get a different crowd the next time, or depending on with regulars. So it's not much of a big deal because next time you might have a better set. And then if that same person is there, they might just be like, "Oh, cool. I mean, I saw you last time, and then this time I thought you had a way better set." And it could just go over a lot better because sometimes you just had a bad day, you had a busy day, this and that, and you're just not mentally there. And then the next time you're going there, you had a better day, or just you're just all mentally there and everything's clicking. So that's just how it is. And I'm sure it's the same thing with dance. Sometimes before you have to kind of like sometimes just be in a ritual to kind of like get yourself centered and mentally there.
Yep.
So it's either with me like I listen to the same track every time in the car. Just that's like been my thing. Like I listen to the same track and the same couple songs for like the last couple shows just to kind of I sing and kind of just get myself mentally there, and then get in there, set up. I always like to try to get there with a little bit of time so I'm not like panicking to get done and like be like, okay, set up, all right, play. I like to try to set up and then give myself 5-10 minutes to just give myself another mental like focus and then be ready to play.
Yeah, I have been more nervous in front of an audience of people that know me from my community where it's like a couple hundred people, because it's people that know me. It's regulars. Like when
Yeah.
when used to like perform in recitals and stuff like that every June, um, I felt more pressure on myself to be excellent there because the audience, a lot of them had seen me year after year after year after year. So they're looking for like a progress report kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Whereas when I'm doing the backup thing and I'm doing the shows here and here and here, I'm like, I may never see any of these people again. And
Right.
there's thousands of people. And like we said, you never know who's watching. So you still want to be excellent, but there's like a smaller amount of pressure and sense of urgency versus like you were saying, when you're 45 minutes to an hour from home, it's like, all right, this probably isn't going to damage me if I absolutely bomb, right?
Yeah. Because I always used to have the anxiety of like trying to always win over a room and trying to get everybody's attention and being like, hey, everybody in this room is a potential fan. Everybody in this room is a potential person to be like, hey, you're a musician. I want to listen to you more. But now it's like,
you got good with the idea of like, okay, I'm just a supplement to
you
the
can't
environment.
win over you're not going to win over everybody.
Right.
And just like anybody, not everybody's going to like your music. Not everybody's going to be tuned in. Not everybody's going to, just be, hey, this dude's awesome. I want to go back and see him like 20 times, blah, blah, blah. It's just with any other band.
Yeah, you could put you could put the best dancer in the room on stage, the best dancer in the world. You could put them on stage, and somebody will be like, yeah, I'm over it. It's not their preference, right?
Right.
And that's
so it's just like another mental thing to be like, you're not going to win over everybody. And I just try to just think like, you can try to win over a room, but it's just going to add more pressure to your set. And then you're not going to be thinking straight to be like, think about the performance. You're just thinking about, okay, I want to try to impress that guy. I want to try to impress that girl. I want to get everybody doing this. And you want to be the head person, but, I think sometimes crowds can, sometimes if they're not paying attention, but sometimes crowds can feed off of the fact that they know you're trying to, win them over, or, you're not necessarily being like fake, but like you're just being there to be like, hey, look at me do this 10-minute solo. You're being like Mr. Impressive. Like, hey, I'm trying to impress you. I'm trying to impress you. Like, but if you're just there and just acting like they're not there and you're just playing and you're just in the moment, I felt that's when more people pay attention to you, when you're just in the zone and people just like, wait, but is this like the jukebox music, or is that guy playing? And then they realize it's that guy playing, like, wow, he's actually really good. So it's another thing, like, if you stop worrying about the people listening to you and just start, playing and just do what you do, people will start listening to you because they'll realize, like, okay, this is like some good music. Let me start listening, instead of you trying to like bring them in yourself.
So let's take this to our favorite motto that we have just out of nowhere birthed into the universe. CCH levels, right?
We wanted to talk about these, so here it's perfect timing. Let's go.
Perfect timing. Okay. CCH levels, right? Cockiness, confidence, cockiness, and humbleness, right?
Yes.
So I feel like when you're talking about the person that's trying to win over the room, that's trying to win everybody over, they're leaning too far. Like, so if we take those three and we pull them into like three different spectrums, like for me, the cockiness is too far off the grid if you're trying to walk in and be like, I'm playing and I'm trying to be the center of attention. I'm trying to win over the room. I'm what people are here to see. And it gets to be too much because when people walk into an establishment, unless if they're going specifically to see the person performing, they don't want the performer to be overshadowing the rest of the experience, whether they're there with friends, socializing, whether they're there to get a bite to eat, have a couple drinks kind of thing. Like there needs to be a good balance in that environment, right?
Absolutely.
But if you're, I feel like you have the confidence and the humbleness like right where you want them. And I feel like your cockiness, like it's never off the grid.
It's
right?
the short stick. Yeah. Yeah, it's the why of the hit that right on the nail.
Yeah. But I feel like if your shorter end of the stick was the confidence and you were just overly cocky.
Yeah.
And somehow you were cocky and humble, but not confident. I feel like that would just be your mind is in two separate hemispheres of thinking like, oh, I'm super, super great and I'm going to own the room. And I'm humble in that, like,
people are actually there to listen.
People are there to listen, or you're like, oh, I'm just playing some tunes here. I don't know what that blend is where the short end of the stick is missing the confidence.
I guess the fact that like you're like, hey, I may not have played all these things correctly, and that I'm not confident that I played everything or hit every note correctly or blah blah blah, and like, but I
I'm
know
still high.
Yeah, there you go. I know I'm high. Could have outperformed anybody that was up on this stage, and I'm humble that you guys were able to go there with me.
Yeah.
So that
spin
can
it
be
on the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. So that can be like the effect of, the underbalance or overbalance of, having too much cockiness, not enough confidence, and, a good amount of humbleness, a lot of cockiness, not enough
confidence.
Right.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I think it's easy to say someone can have both elevated confidence and cockiness and no humble, like zero humility, no humbleness, like on this bottom spectrum.
I know some people like that. So.
It's more so you can find people, I think, very much like the both of us, where we are confident and humble and not cocky. That's the short end of the stick for the both of us,
we're
right?
always trying to, like, that short end of the stick is always kind of going like that a little bit. Like, you have different ranges of the cockiness that we're like, but we don't really try to act like that, because we don't really try to, especially like you, like people like, oh, you're a dancer, like, and you're always like, nah, I don't dance, because you don't want to try to be putting that out there with people saying like, oh, like, yeah, let me just do a whole routine and try to show off. You're not going to show off your stuff. That's the
And
same thing with me. Like, people will be like, oh, you play guitar? I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, what do you play? I'm like, yeah, I just play a little electric guitar, singing that, but nothing. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this, and I know how to play this song and that, and I learned how to do that. Like, I don't try to show off on the fact. But
yeah, and I think that there are people that like thrive in that direction and they do well with it, and it's not in an arrogant way. Like they're
Right.
just cocky, and that provides them prosperity and power to them.
Yeah,
I
if it
think
works,
that
it works.
I think that the word cockiness gets like a negative connotation where it's like, oh, if they're cocky, it's such like a big turnoff to everyone. There's a way to be cocky, and a lot of people still like you versus being cocky and everyone thinks you're super arrogant and self-centered kind of thing, right? But I feel like the respectable cockiness level lives over in the confidence region, right?
I was gonna say, I mean, you could have two different tiers of cockiness with it, but you could bring that over to the confidence, because I still think you need that cockiness to balance out everything. So it's
It's
like how we've originally talked, that you kind of have to have that triangle, that balanced triangle of the humbleness, cockiness, and confidence. So you have to have all three, but sometimes they might not equal out. But
well, finding perfect balance is anyone that thrives to be successful yearns for balance, right?
it's
And
like the
that's
same analogy that we had with the quality and time and everything. Like, you if you're you can have two, but you may not always be able to have the other, so you're
and
not going to have three at the same time. You kind of have to.
money's the third one.
Yes, so
Yep.
you're not going to have all three at one time, so you're going to have two, and then you're going to have to sacrifice one. So you can always take the CCH levels as that sometimes too, that you may not always have all three working together, but you can take two of them and really excel at them, and you can always have that other one. So I think for like us, like the confidence and the humbleness are always right there, but we're always adjusting that cockiness level depending on the situations we're in.
Yeah. I mean, man, you would not believe what I did today. And you probably wouldn't even guess it if I gave
Probably
you
not.
5, 10 guesses. I recorded myself dancing, and
Bravo. Nice.
when I say I recorded myself, I mean my cousin Matt texted me yesterday and was like, hey, do you want to record it? Like, do you want to get together tomorrow and like record? Like, I want to record and post a thing, because we had met maybe 5 or 6 times, and we have like drafts of stuff that we're like, okay, tuck this away and we'll revisit them.
Yeah.
And he is 19, about to be 20 years old, and very much like trying to be social media relevant, and power to him. I know that you ride the social media, like promoting your stuff, which I've rarely done. I mean, especially when it comes to like promoting just myself as an individual. When I had my family studio, I would do posts on Facebook about stuff, but just the wide spectrum of like sharing through stories, it's a post, and timing it out to make it make sense.
Uh-huh.
He's very much in the I have to post X times a week,
Mm,
every other day almost, and
getting through the algorithms, it's a pain. But
yeah,
yeah.
he's navigating those channels now, and um, as much as I'm very much like not in that field with social media marketing and presentation, like I know and I see what works because I see the people that regularly post, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, if we're talking about House of the Dragon, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're getting 8 episodes for the season. We just got episode 5, which you and I both agreed was a really great fallout episode from all of the stuff that we talked about in episode 4.
Yeah.
So when you think about, okay, what keeps an audience attracted to your content when you're a content creator,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to explain to them, like, yeah, if you post every day and 1 out of 7 is a masterpiece and the other 6 are kind of right here, separate your posting, like do every other day, so that you're not oversaturating people's feeds with, hey, this is me just presenting stuff for the sake of presenting stuff, because then people will just tune you out and scroll right past you, right?
Yeah.
So he and I were talking about that today. We had choreographed something 3 or 4 months ago for fun, and he was like, do we want to do this one? And I was like, yeah, it's like a for fun piece that we did, not like super serious. um and he was like, okay, I want to shoot it outside. I was like, high for today is 96 degrees. Perfect. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's get this heat.
Dude, perfect. Yeah.
Dude, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't complain. I wasn't like, it's gonna be too hot for outdoorsy things. I was just like, yeah, no, we're gonna do this. Like I had already committed to, I'm doing this today.
Uh-huh.
So we spent maybe 30 to 45 minutes reviewing the previous content. And then he was like, okay, is there anywhere around here like where we can shoot outside? We his friend was a YouTuber, had like 2 million subscribers at one point.
Nice.
So he knows, like, he understands like the social media algorithm and all that stuff.
For sure.
And he is doing a lot of Matt's like recording,
Nice.
like videography work right now.
Yeah. It's always
So
good to have somebody that, does that. Then that just like eliminates half the work that you got to do. All you have to worry about is the content. Then
yeah,
you just give it to your videographer and he just shoots you all the stuff. So it just makes everything much easier. I was thinking the same thing. If I had like a photographer, like a main photographer, or somebody who did like video or photography, it would make things so much easier. Like especially at shows, to just be like, hey, just come to the show, shoot pictures and video during the shows, and then give me the raw file. I'll cut all that stuff up, and I can just make that as content. And I'm trying to eventually start in that same aspect, revamping my social content as well, because I was posting a lot of songs. I'm still trying to, finish those up and get this other elongated, album out, but life happens. But I'm trying to eventually get back into the little home studio here. I'm going to be doing some stuff soon that'll be coming out probably later this year for the movie, the Delco movie. I'm going to be helping out doing some stuff. But as far as
stoked for that, by the way. Can't wait.
yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm just waiting for Chris to give me the okay and just give me some stuff, and I'll be working on that.
Shout out to our buddy Chris Pierdomenico directing the Delco movie. We all are excited to see it. Can't wait.
Yeah, just a small little quick, pop for him. If you guys haven't seen the trailer, just click Delco movie, and it should come up, and look at the trailer. Trailer looks really nice. It's a very small indie film, but it's based in Delaware County, and it's based back in like 2004 ish time, it's gonna be fun. Just having little nostalgia type things, and you'll get to see me and a couple people having little small cameos in there, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I think Chris said he's starting back, doing the last couple things of film this week. So uh I'm not sure how many days, but I think he's doing like the last couple shoots this week or within the next couple weeks. So
And just like you, where life happens, like he gets to decide like the longevity. Obviously, he has an
yeah,
idea in mind of like when he wants to officially publish it. But if it
yeah,
gets
for
delayed,
sure.
he doesn't have to answer to anybody. He doesn't
And he's a
have
school
like
teacher too, so he's been doing this plus doing the school teaching, and now that the school year's over, he can dedicate
his
all
summer
100%,
time. Yeah.
all 100% of the time to this now and everything. So, and I mean, back to my point, but yeah, just giving our shout out and love and praise to Chris in the Delco movie, but the fact that you know I'm trying to eventually start back up how to re rejuvenate my social content to base it around a lot of this live looping stuff, because what I'm posting now is just flyers about my shows. I don't really have any content outside of that, so I'm trying to take a lot of my live streams, and I'm going to start taking little bits from those live streams, repurposing those, posting them like certain songs and everything. And I'm going to start playing a lot more original music with the covers. I played a little more original music last Friday, which felt good, and I'm going to start incorporating that into the live looping. And like I was telling you, my goal with the looping thing is trying to really make this like a one-man band thing. And I think I'm really gonna just start honing in on that and just tightening everything up. And I'm excited to eventually debut it. I don't know when I'm gonna debut it, but I'm hoping sometime this year I will. It's just the fact of trying to get all my gear into one spot, how I'm gonna do it all, because I'm gonna start incorporating another instrument into everything, so it's like a little bit more now you got to pack, and one more thing you got to set up and everything, which doesn't bother me, but I just want to make sure it all blends, and it just doesn't sound just a bunch of mesh. I want to make sure it all blends in and just sounds good. So it's almost like a revamping, and then along with putting in my original music in there, I think it's going to be something that is not being done around here by many people, and I'm hoping it's going to spark, and I'm hoping to play a little bit more upbeat music with this too, instead of just slow melodic acoustic music. Try to start playing some more upbeat stuff with it now that I can really play a lot more band type stuff. So it's going to be cool.
I think, and if we just dissect like our favorite shows that we watch, if you talk about sports, Game of Thrones. What was the other one I just had? Sorry. Sports, Game of Thrones.
Okay, cool.
Good. Sports, Game of Thrones, WWE.
Yeah.
The stuff that really, like, diehard fans, is like the behind the scene making, like, if we go back 20 to 25 years when MTV used to do making the video, I love that shit to
That
death,
was
man.
so good.
So good. Yeah.
I love just watching the behind the scenes stuff of just like how, not even just seeing the final product, but just seeing the behind the scenes of how everything was made. And then, because you never got that before, you just saw the video, the final product. And that was just something to give you extra content.
So I think just some thought here, food for thought. And I can talk to myself at the same time here. Your audience is going to want to see you in the practice space, right? So while you are practicing for your gigs coming up, even if you're just in the basement and you're like tuning up your guitar and you practice and you have like a blooper and you're like, that really sucked. People are going to eat that up, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it shows that you're human and it shows your flaws. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that in front of an audience, right? So
Yeah.
just little things like that. And I know for me, I don't post myself like really dancing. And I think it's because I, in the past 20 years now, 20? Yeah. In the past 20 years, that's so weird to say. In the last 20 years, I've been a dedicated worker to my craft and I've loved it. And people knew it was like what made me tick. Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to really catch all those behind the scenes footage stuff, but it's what people want to see. When you see, oh, look, this is WrestleMania 40 behind the curtain, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this.
Right.
Like, why would I spend an hour watching the behind the scenes on it? It's because I'm that invested in it, right? And it's not just, oh, I'm watching Raw, SmackDown, the PLEs, and
The super fans will eat it up.
yeah,
You know?
but also musicians like you and younger that are 20 years younger than you and just starting,
Yeah.
they want to see you behind the scenes, just like dancers probably want to see what I'm doing behind the scenes. And I feel like there's not a lot of, and it's not really fair to say because I don't publish my stuff, right? But I don't have people like really wondering what I'm doing because I think they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
his reputation was established 10, 15, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago. But because I'm not putting myself out there regularly, people's attention are going to something else, right?
Mhm.
So I partook. Yeah, I partook in a video shoot today. It was simple. It was fun. I took them to, they were like, where is cool to shoot around here outside? And I was like, so we tried one spot and, well, we checked it out and it was like, yeah, the way the sun was and the shadow casting of the awning over top.
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right, I'm going to take us to a really cool spot. And neither of them had been there. So when I showed them through the scenery, they were like, wow.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, this to me is like a very fall setting kind of place, not so much middle of July.
Yeah.
But we made it work. And it was like it was actually kind of nice because it was like, it's so hot, we're gonna do no more than 5 takes. And
Yeah.
after the fourth one, we're like, that's gonna work. And I watched it back and was like, yeah, definitely messed up a couple times, but it's because I know where the stuff was supposed to land.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, play it back again, and I'm gonna watch it just without being so nitpickety about it. And I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is really fun and cool, and we're gonna roll with that. And it's not a masterpiece, and a lot of why I don't social media post is because I'm so much like, if I'm gonna put something out there, I want it to be
Perfectionist.
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've also, as you know, really not posted. And it's, I also see dancers say, like in their stories, people that post regularly, dancers that I follow and have seen go from here to here,
Mhm.
that are like, yeah, I used to wait to get it perfect on the first shot. And instead I was just like, yeah, no, I'm going to put myself out there. And then you watch it back and you take notes and you say, okay, how can I make the next one better? And
Yeah.
instead of trying to be perfect, it's just, hey, this is who I am. And that's part of the confidence and humility. That's where I lack in those in those aspects of the
Humbleness, but yeah.
Humbleness. And the trifecta I lack there. And I guess the cockiness is more so like, I don't have to do this. I'm good. And then,
Right.
years later, and when I say years, I just mean like in the past 2 to 3 years, is like, I'm like a dance teacher and I do backup gigs and I don't post online. So the only people that know that I exist are the people that I work with directly in the teaching setting.
And like, even though with the studio, I mean, you did like promotion and stuff, but you didn't really have to do a lot of like content around there because you had a lot of people doing the promotions for you guys.
Well,
So you didn't really have to, think, okay, well, I got to be a content creator around this and thinking content. But I know how you're feeling now with it. It's just like, that if I want to, not that if you want to get from here to there, because it's usually just, people who just want to go like viral and stuff. And viral is only like a very small window of fame. So
it's like laser pointers. It's a fad, right? Like
yeah.
it hits for a short amount of time, and it's like, okay, the next big thing is going to come along, right?
And that's where it is for like when I see a lot of things, like a lot of people are hitting for virality where you need to be hitting for that long-term balance of people coming back to watch your content like every day and whenever you're posting. You can, people say like it's easier to go viral than to try to regain people coming back and getting subscribers and keep on going up that ladder. You can make a video go viral by just buying subscribers, buying views, and doing all that today. But the fact that like trying to build a following, that's the harder part of it.
Right. And
It's just being consistent. That's the thing.
And for me, like my sister Kim was our artistic director. So she knows how to make, promotional material look gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what I see now is like studio directors doing like, there was one studio that I did a couple of jobs for that I talked about on here 100 episodes ago. But she'll literally just take her phone and do organic, like walking through the studio kind of thing during the day. Like, oh, we're so excited to reveal this like to the kids later, and then they'll have like a curtain, and they'll just be like, we can't wait to show the kids what's behind this curtain. And the stay-at-home moms are all over it, and they're like, oh my god, like my kid's going to be so excited. Like,
right.
It's like that organic content that's like, not okay, we have to orchestrate this or manipulate this to make it a masterpiece. Like I said, it's more so just like, hey, day to day, this, and then their next story post will be like the kids coming in through the front door of the studio and then just being like, hi, like just and not staged, because I can tell the difference.
Right.
when they're like, okay, everybody go outside and look excited when you're coming in. Like, they're literally just like,
smile.
Right. Smoke.
Hi.
Yeah, smoke.
Smoke. But yeah, you could definitely tell with a lot of content, like if it's staged or if it's like real emotion stuff too, like that. And that's where it's like that you have to kind of people can see through that too, like if you're being fake with it or if you're being real. And it goes back to, when you were saying like, oh, people want to see the behind the scenes, they want to see you practicing. But I always felt like, well, my life outside of my shows isn't really interesting because one, I mean, I have a wife, have kids. Nobody wants to see me playing with my kid 24/7, and I go to work. Nobody wants to see me splash around in water 24/7. But and watch, that would be the thing that goes viral for me, and then like, oh well, he's the musician that splashes water all the time. Yeah. So maybe I'll start putting that content out. Maybe that'll do good for me.
This dude's a marine biologist. Here we go.
Yes. You never know, kids. You never know.
Yeah, but it's the same with me being like, here I am getting music together for my classes tonight. Here I am trying to choreograph. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I think that when you do your practice sessions at night, like when wife and kids are asleep,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, this is my me time. And you just take this and you're like, I'm going to record myself practicing here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still remember, and I know how big of a John Mayer fan that you are. You still sent me that one clip where he was playing Neon.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, okay, really quick, just this right here. And he's like, don't go, don't go. Like, I can still like envision it because I thought it was so, he was on like God level, like in God mode.
He
like,
literally is just like saying like, it's all in your wrist and your hand, like dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, you
Teach
make
me.
it look
Yeah.
you make it look hard. It's really not that hard. I'm like, you make it look harder than what it really is. Like, I hate how good you are.
But let's go back to like the dynamic of the content that you post, okay? Because we're talking about John Mayer, who is in like the top X%. If you say like top, I'm not putting him in the top 10, but I'm saying as far as like, he doesn't post a lot of content, but what he posts is usually important. But he also has that clout. He also has, and that's also
as a different type of thing. Like when you already have the followers, then you don't have to be posting like, you have to post every day. You have to post 2-3 times a day.
Well, and that's YMH, like 2 million viewers or subscribers. Yeah, but they're both essentially famous. Not that they're household names per se.
Right.
But if you know some frame of pop culture, you probably know who one of them are, if not both of them, right? Especially Tom.
Yeah,
like Tom's a pretty big name at this point.
That and they know their audience. That's the bigger thing with a lot of these things. And you got to know your niche. You got to know your audience, because if you don't, you're kind of just throwing the bait out to a whole pond of a whole bunch of people, and you'll get some bites here and there, but you're never going to find that one section where the whole school of fish are that you want to be going towards.
I'm so glad you just said it that way, because when this releases, you and I are going fishing tomorrow for your birthday.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's my birthday week. So dude, I'm stoked. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
I messaged you, I guess, once this comes out, like a week ago, and I was like, got birthday plans? And you're like, yeah, probably just chilling at home for the day. And I was like,
you should be on the water. I'm like, I know.
I was like, do you want to go fishing? and it was very like, I want you to have like a chill day at home if that's what you want for your birthday. But I was also like, can I steal you for a couple hours? Like,
yeah, I'm stoked.
I know you love to go on the water for like 7 hours. And I wasn't even asking for like that much time. I was like,
oh yeah, but yeah. I got some ideas what we're gonna do, and we might just go to one of two places. doesn't necessarily need to be aired here because it's not like any secret spots, but
Yeah, but the one spot that you've been talking about a lot recently,
yeah,
I think is
that might be
where
one. That might be one of the spots we're going to go to, or we're going to go to another spot, which is pretty cool too. That sometimes I do, but I haven't done in a while. But one, we're going to be fishing for another species with which you haven't done before, so it'll be fun.
we'll see if I actually catch something this time.
That's the plan every time, so let's do it. But yeah, it's fun, and I've been having fun because I'm so used to catching trout all year long, but summertime they're usually not the best to catch because especially in the southeastern part of where we are in PA, our waters in the summer get really hot. It's not good for trout because they can die off really quick, so sometimes you want to go to other species. So I love bass fishing, but I've never found spots to really catch them. I've always wanted to go to Darby Creek, but then I hear that they have a really good population of smallmouth bass. So I'm like, all right, cool. I go out there one day with my dad, and I've never gone out and said, hey, I want to target this species other than trout. Like I've never said like out of random, I'm like, hey, I'm going to this spot to target this fish and I'm going to catch it. And I did that. I'm like, that was cool. Like I've never went out and just said, hey, I'm going to target this fish and I'm catching only that today. And I like loaded it up that day. And I was like, it was one of those like times where I'm like, that was the coolest day ever to kind of just be out there. So, we're going to have fun. We're going to do some fishing. Later in the night, I'm going to go out with Jen. We're going to grab some drinks, probably get some dinner. So I'll have some time with the wife later on. Then I'm going to have a family party the next day. So it'll be good. So getting closer to 40. It's a little scary, but I'm glad to have a good, circle of friends and people around me to kind of keep me sane. And the fact that I get to still play music while I'm still closer to my 40s, doing a podcast that I love to do with my best friend. And, hey, we've always talked about trying to stay positive and do the things that are positive. And we've always, you and me have never been negative thinking people. So we always try to think of trying to stay and think of more positive things. So I think that's just the more things as you get older, try to think of a lot more of the positive things that you're doing with your life and try to, negativity is always going to be around you no matter what. But if you can kind of shove it off of you here and there, it's going to help you out a lot in the long run.
And I think what's important to acknowledge with that, because like you say, we both try to be super positive, and admittedly, I've been in definitely super negative headspaces before, and it's because I'm allowing the negative things in.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say your life is 10% what actually happens to you and 90% how you handle it,
yeah,
that's something that I have definitely believed in. And when like the negativity does consume me, I own up to it, and I'm like, I know I'm letting this stuff in. I'm letting it like kind of ruin my day, ruin my week, my month, my year, whatever.
It happens to all of us. Yeah. It could definitely get you down. But then, just trying to pull yourself out of those things is
and at the
sometimes hard, but when you do, it's like, okay, glad I'm out of that situation.
Same time, it's like when something is thrown our way and we're just kind of like, okay, like not brushing it off, but trying not to like accept the impact of the negativity. And other people are like, you're not taking this seriously. And I'm like, that's not it. I understand it's important, and I understand it's a thing. I'm just trying to be Mr. Irvin here and just be like, yeah. Be like my dad, and just be like, all right, and just roll along with it.
Exactly. And I'll end my little thing on this, and that
go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you didn't. I'm just trying to have a little bit of conclusion to like kind of what we've been talking about, and like, and a follow up to what you were just saying on the fact that like oh, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, but like it's like how I was trying to tell you that I feel I need to take a hold on playing shows here and there to hone in on this new craft. But in the other sense of me, I was like, but I don't want to stop playing shows because I don't want people to forget about me. But it's the same thing. I'm like, but if I get the time to perfect this and I'm coming into these shows in like a bam, 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 then I think it's going to be like, these people are going to be like, whoa, where did this guy come from? Like he was doing all this stuff like 2-3 months ago and it was good, but all of a sudden he just came out and he's just wailing. And that's the kind of vibe like I want to get to, like just coming out of nowhere and being like, whoa, I've seen this dude at this bar like for like the last couple months, and yeah, he's really good, but he just turned like a whole 360 tonight and just like had this whole new setup, and it seems like he just is like a brand new musician. That's like the kind of thing that I'm kind of sparking in my head to kind of I want to turn some heads with this stuff.
Well, that's your motivation to
Yeah.
get to that next level, and
So
I love
that's
that
where my
for
head's
you.
at. That's where
Yeah,
motivation.
I
That's where
love
my
that
head's
for you,
at.
bro, for sure.
So I that's where I've been constantly in my head of like, I want to get this going and get this doing, and I'm just stoked to try to get this thing in my head out to really start having, and it's gonna be so much more. Not that I'm not having fun at shows, but I'm gonna have so much more fun just playing these songs, because it's gonna be like I'm playing a full band, and for the audience, it's gonna sound like there's a full band out there, and I think it's just gonna hopefully it'll attract more people to shows. It'll get me more bookings, and I've been in my head thinking I can because I've always wanted to do like weddings, private parties and stuff like that, so I can take this and evolve that into that too. So it's like I'm always thinking about expanding with certain things too. That's another 20-minute talk, but we'll put that on another episode.
Yeah, but you have an intention and a motive to be like, okay,
Yeah.
in my 40s and even into like your 50s, you could be doing this on like the weddings. That's huge, right?
I'm always thinking about what can I do better? How can I be better? How can I do what I'm doing? How can I make it better? How can I make it more exciting? Because sometimes, like for me, I'm like I get bored what I'm doing, and then I'm like I need to evolve. Then I need to do this and that. So it's like I need to constantly think of like, okay, how can I make things better? So I'm in that type of zone right now, and just like re-evolving everything. So I'm in the middle of like a transition period. So it's
well, and you also are inspired because you do have two young ones and you are trying to be the best dad, and not to them specifically, but also them look up to you and say, wow, that's my dad, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's probably everything to you right
already,
now, right?
like he'll look at me and he's like, is that you, Dad? I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. So I'm like, that's all I need. So but enough, like eventually when when I stop playing, which I don't plan to anytime soon, but like I want him and Grayson to be like, yeah, my dad used to play music. He was really good, and he used to play videos and all that stuff. Like, I want this catalog to just be with them forever,
Right. And
just kind of like this podcast is going to be a catalog for them. So
this podcast is almost like a diary or a journal. Like,
yeah,
I want.
It's been a journal for the last 2.5 years. So yeah,
literally, I don't want to say I think about dying all the time, because that's not true. I just think about like when I go out, what do I have to leave behind? Like I know the mark that I've left, and I've made a positive impact on a lot of lives, and I am super grateful and fulfilled with that, even still today. But this podcast, I just want people, because the podcast is like a forever thing. It's out there.
It's out there.
It's out there. We're putting ourselves out there, and I'm just being open and vulnerable. And obviously, I'm not saying all of the things in my head, but I'm saying a lot of the things in my head. And I think, again, if we go back to an hour ago in the episode, I just want to thank you again for tuning in with me every week. And when I say with me, I mean we're both tuning in together on this.
Absolutely.
Um,
It's definitely, something that when we started it, we had a vision of it, and, it's just evolved into something that's just been like a staple in both our lives to be like, hey, let's record this week. What do we talk about this week? And now it's to the point where we're now we're starting to really think, how can we make this better? How can we, talk about something better? How can we evolve? We're really getting into like, okay, like we've done, we've gotten to 100 episodes. Now it's like, okay, how can we make these next 100 episodes, better than the first? What can we, talk about? What can be fixed here? What can be fixed there? So that hopefully by year 10, year 15, we're so dialed in, and hopefully we have, X amount of people who are loving us. We'll be, that much better that we look back at these 100 episodes and we're just like, these SOBs knew what they were talking about. Whoopsie.
right, bro.
Whoopsie.
Right.
I love you, man. This has been fun. Thank you all.
I had a couple topics to get through. These are my favorite episodes where it's like
absolutely
the whole thing just rolled organically, and it wasn't that we came in thinking, oh, let's just wing it. Like I actually had stuff to talk about, and before we even got into those, it was it just literally an hour and 20 minutes just floated.
Right.
And
yeah, we got to shoot we got to shoot 1 or 2 episodes next week. So maybe we'll throw it in there for next week for everybody, because we got a couple things coming up for next week. So we might be doubling up a couple things for everybody. But with that, if everybody would do us a big favor, and if this is your first time watching, we want you guys to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure you're following. And with Spotify, I just saw that you can leave comments on Spotify now. So leave us a comment. If you're watching for the first time and through Spotify, send us a comment on this episode. Say hi, do something. Let us know that feature works. The Gmail's always open. Hit us up on the Gmail. We have some merch that should be coming out in the next couple months that we think is going to be pretty cool for you guys to get your hands on. We're always, trying to get the Patreon going. So the Patreon is free until, a certain point. Take advantage of some free content with you guys. And just if anything, share this podcast with a friend, and, be back for another episode. We're here every Friday. So, bro, what more can I say? Love you. Thank you for another one.
I love you too, bro. Can't wait to fish tomorrow. I love you. Happy early birthday, and
thank you, brother.
We'll catch up next week. Thank you, everybody. All the love to you. This has been One Set.
One Set.